So what's good guys, Jonathan here, and this is my review of the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. Now, being an S upgrade, to the naked eye, you might not notice the difference between the 6 and the 6S aside from the S on the back and a new rose gold color, or as Ralphie likes to call it, pink as f***.
He's right, you know.
Now, screen size or resolution hasn't changed, but it does remain one of the key differences between the 6S and the 6S Plus. The 6S sizes in at 4.7 inches with a resolution of 1334 by 750, whereas the 6S Plus comes in with a 5.5 inch 1080p display. Form factor wise, I prefer the one-handed feel of the 6S all day, every day, but as far as watching a video or playing a game goes, good God is the 6S Plus awesome. Now, if you're wondering what is different on this upgrade, the first thing we're going to talk about is speed. Inside is Apple's A9 processor, which dishes out iPad Air 2-like speed on a dual-core chip. There is now also finally 2 GB of RAM, which is long overdue for you multitasking maniacs. But as far as how that translates into performance, I've done speed tests and comparisons, and I'll link those below that button that closely resembles an upwards facing thumb. But to put it simply, the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus are fast. Just performing simple tasks like jumping from app to app or multitasking, you can see exactly how speedy and how zippy everything is. Now, it might be a little cliche saying that specs aren't everything, but this is a prime example of how that fits, because even though it's dual core, the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus makes a strong case for being one of the fastest phones of this year. On top of that, it tears through gaming, and Apple's always done a really solid job of dishing out solid gaming performance, and the 6s and 6s Plus are no different here. Now, staying on the theme of speed, Touch ID on the 6s and 6s Plus are crazy fast. By now, I'm sure you've heard the complaint that Touch ID is too fast, where you would normally just want to check your notifications on your lock screen. Once you press that button, it unlocks the phone. Now, conversely, as a little life hack, if you're one of those who think Touch ID is too fast, I've been using a little workaround by either touching it with my nail or a finger that isn't recognized, and that will get you through that speed problem. Following that is probably the biggest change on the 6s and 6s Plus, and that is the new 3D touch display. So what it is a pressure sensitive screen that will react by how hard you press. And let me be clear, this is not a long press. You can still do that and move your apps around, but you are actually physically pressing the home screen and then it's reacting. So right now it is pretty much limited to core applications, but it's pretty simple to see which works and which doesn't. So for example, you could 3D touch the camera icon that will present you with a list of shortcuts. Same thing with messages, email, or even the stock clock app. And if an app doesn't work, it's simply gonna shake, vibrate, and give you a little haptic feedback saying, I am not ready yet. Now, initially, I was pretty skeptical of 3D touch, but the longer I've used the iPhone and the more I've used it, the more I found myself really enjoying it. It's awesome for being able to quick check links while you're web browsing, and especially in Instagram, where you're able to quickly preview a profile without actually opening it. There is also a 3D touch multitasking shortcut that almost plays with your mind. The moment you find out how to do it, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome, it's so much quicker. And then common sense kicks in and you're like, wait, that's actually not faster than double tapping the home button. That aside though, 3D touch is actually pretty useful, and more importantly, as time goes on and more applications and developers take advantage of this, this is where you really start to see it make a big impact. On top of that, it's not going to be limited to just apps or shortcuts. Once games implement this, and some already have, it's going to add a completely new element as far as mobile gaming goes. Now, 3D touch kind of transitions us into the next new feature on the 6s and 6s Plus, and that is live photos and live wallpapers. Now, I have completely mixed feelings with these, and we'll start with live wallpapers because at first you're like, oh my God, this is so much fun. I'm moving my finger, the wallpaper's moving, and after a couple minutes, you're like, it's a little bit boring. Now, live photos, on the other hand, I think those really depend on the application you're using it with. At first, I thought they were straight up on the gimmick side, but then you actually capture a few funny ones, and then you can start to see where these could be useful, fun, or actually have some merit. Are these a game changer? Absolutely not. Could you have some fun with these? Definitely. Following that, the next big upgrade is in the cameras. Gone is the 8 megapixel sensor. We now have a 12 megapixel rear shooter on the 6s and 6s Plus. The front facing camera has also been upgraded from 1.2 megapixels up to 5 megapixels. As far as image quality goes, it's as you would expect with an iPhone, because if there's one thing an iPhone does really well, it's take photos. It's not going to be as sharp or as saturated as something like the Galaxy S6, but it does a fantastic job of retaining the naturalness of an image and has excellent dynamic range. I'm not sure if most people would notice the difference between that 8 and 12 megapixel sensor though, but it is nice having that extra detail and room to play around with. Now, while the front-facing camera was a really solid upgrade as far as megapixels go, I do wish the lens was a little bit wider because it can be a little bit difficult to fit multiple people in frame. As far as video goes, like I am shooting right now, there is also now 4K video recorded on the 6S and 6S Plus. There aren't many differences between the 6S and the 6S Plus aside from the size, but as far as video goes, one of the big differences between the two is optical image stabilization, where the 6S Plus has it and the 6S does not. So if 4K video is one of the reasons you're tempted to pick up an iPhone, you more than likely want to lean towards the 6S Plus because that optical image stabilization is really helpful. Quality-wise, it's on point. Again, dynamic range is solid, and overall, it's just a really nice image. On top of that, I think it's pretty safe to say that Apple has the best slow motion as far as smartphone cameras go. To test it out, we dressed Ralphie up in a shark suit and shot him with paintballs. No Ralphies were hurt during the making of this video. Now following that, let's go ahead and talk about battery life. And I think it's no secret, if you're all about all-day battery, the 6S Plus is the easy choice. The iPhone 6S has around 1700 milliamp hours, whereas the 6S Plus is 2750. Now, unfortunately, not much has changed from the 6 and 6S Plus, so that means the 6S is still going to have a really hard time getting through the day, whereas the 6S Plus will have no problem making it throughout the day, and even will survive some of those nights where you forget to plug it in. There is one WTF Tim Cook element to these phones, and that is storage. It's 2015, and the iPhone starts out with 16 gigabytes. Ultimately, what it comes down to, and it's sad, but the real reason that they have a 16 gigabyte iPhone is so you are more enticed to pick up the 64 gigabyte model, and that equals dollar bills, y'all. Aside from that though, the 6S and 6S Plus are two of the best smartphone options of 2015. For me, I think at the end of the day, I would sacrifice battery life in favor of the form factor of the 6S. I just really enjoy the one-handed use. But if you don't mind the form factor or need to use it in one hand, the 6S Plus is a better option in every possible way. You get a bigger, crispier screen, all-day battery life, and of course, optical image stabilization, which is really important for that 4K video. Aside from that, that wraps up the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did and you are feeling like being awesome, make sure to go shark getting shot with a paintball on that like button. If you guys have any questions, make sure to drop me a line down below. I do try to reply to as many as possible. You can also hit me up on Twitter or at Snapchat. This is Jonathan with TLD, and I will catch you guys later.